Many times it happens that we do annual checkup and then we find that everything is okay in our health. And then we say that we just wasted the money and then we stop doing all those tests. But maybe after a couple of years, we realize that we have a very severe disease. And at that time, we think that why we didn't continue with that annual health checkup. Many times it also happens that imagine that if we are suffering from diabetes, but still we want to eat something sweet. We try some sweets here and there, thinking that nothing is going to happen. But then, when that diabetes converts into a bigger disease, at that time, we think that why we didn't realize it earlier and we should have taken some actions earlier. Today, I'm going to talk about a very interesting topic: penny wise and pound foolish. Let me start with a very interesting story. The story is of a man who was living in a village, a rich man, but very miser. He was not willing to give any money to anyone. Now, one fine day, he realized that there is some drop coming from the top from his house. So he called one mechanic, and the mechanic said that, well, it will, I think, take around 1000 rupees for you to repair that. Now, that man said that, oh, it's too expensive. I will put some bucket and I'll manage in that way. And then it continued. After a while, it was a rainy season, and then the water started coming from there, and then it all came down, and everything got wet. The furniture and everything was so bad that that man has to spend more than 1 lakh rupees to repair everything. At that time, that man was wondering that what of if I had spent that 1000 rupees. Something similar in our life also. Generally, we are looking at some short term gains. Well, when it gives a short term gain, we feel good and feel proud about it, but we don't realize that what is ahead in a long term. There's a very interesting quote which is given by Charles Finder. He said that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. Something similar happens in our day to day life. Say, for example, these days share market is doing great and a lot of people are making money. So many people think that why don't I also go and learn something little bit and earn a lot of money. So they just get some information from social media, they talk to their friend, and then they invest. As long as they are earning the money, they feel good, they feel that yes, I am smart. But the day they lose money, at that time they start cribbing the share market, they start cribbing their friends and social media that it is only because of them that I've lost the money. They don't realize that it was himself or herself, that person, because that person was thinking of some short term gains and then trying to earn something money, some big money, which is always not possible. And it's only true with respect to the financial thing in our day-to-day life, in our home also. There are many things which happen wherein we start seeing things from a short-term perspective and then it gives a lot of problem. Say, for example, in a family, maybe there is a child which is growing up and now the child is now earning good money. Now the parents start thinking that now the child should support the home and give some money, which is fine, it should happen. But sometimes the child has some different perspective and ways of looking at things. But when the parents start telling them that how much money they have spent on the child, on their schooling, college, and so many other events, then that relationship, instead of becoming that poised relationship, it converts into a transactional relationship. So all that goodness in that relationship goes. And why? Because sometimes we are looking only at a short term and not long at the long term perspective. It also happens many times in our homes when, especially in the working family, where they're nuclear family, and the husband and wife are working, going in the morning, coming late in the evening, so they're totally dependent on the maid servant. Many times it happens that the maid servant decides that what time the couple has to go for excursion, vacation, or maybe outing or something like that. Now, there's nothing wrong in having cleanliness at home and putting everything in right. But when somebody is deciding your happiness, when somebody is deciding that when you have to go out and enjoy the life, then I think that's a point that needs to be looked into it. There's a very interesting quote which says by Will Rogers that too often we spend money we don't have to buy things we don't need, to impress people we do not even like. So that brings a very interesting question: what to do in this particular situation? Now, often it happens that we are so much driven, we so much want to achieve too much in life that we don't realize that what we are losing at what cost. It could be as simple as when you're parking your vehicle or when someone just touches your vehicle when you're driving, that we just come out, start shouting, screaming, and then maybe sometimes even fire, and someone gets killed also. So something which is a very minor thing becomes so big that destroys our entire life, because we are just looking at the short term thing and not seeing the things from the long term perspective. So that brings another interesting aspect, that what to do. I think from my perspective, mindfulness, the awareness about what we are thinking, awareness about what we are saying to others, that makes a lot of difference. When we are mindful that what we are doing, then at that time we are not reacting to any situation, we are responding to it. And when we say responding to it, it means we are thinking about it, we are analyzing it, and it just happens in a fraction of a second, and then we are taking action. If you see in our surroundings also, there are so many countries who are in war. When two countries are in war, nobody wins. At least in this modern time, nobody is winning, everyone is losing. We may be seeing, thinking that yes, I am going to win over the other country, but actually that never happens. And once the war ends, who is the winner? The winner is actually the arms lobby. The winner is actually those powerful nations who get the big contracts to rebuild that country again. But if you think about those countries, maybe because of their ego, they start fighting, but they don't get anything. There's a very interesting quote which sums up about it. It was said by John Maxwell. He said, "Success is knowing your purpose in life, growing to reach your maximum potential, and sowing seeds that benefit others." If I talk about myself, I'm always challenging myself to see the long term perspective. Often I succeed, but sometimes I fail. I am challenging myself to see the things from the long term perspective and not the short term perspective. I am challenging myself. What you are doing. I'm looking for your feedback. Thank you.